Welcome to the Theology of Everything, a worldview discussion between friends. Join the conversation on a variety of topics as your hosts explain how to recognize the perspectives we encounter within church and culture. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Theology of Everything Video Edition.
Theology of what?
Theology of Everything. What did I say?
You said it like really fast. I was like, theology of everything.
It has been a long day. It's been a long couple weeks, honestly.
It's kind of a lot to say. The theology of everything. You gotta like really think about it.
Several
We
syllables.
should have thought of that when we named this podcast.
Yeah. What podcast do you listen to?
Oh yeah, me too.
Speaking in
Yeah.
tongues?
Yeah.
We don't believe in that. Okay. I can start over. And
I don't care. We can keep all that in.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Well then,
We're
yes,
back.
welcome back to Theology of Everything.
Yes.
We are continuing our series, just getting through the Elevation Worship album, When Wind Meets Fire. We have, I think, 4 more tracks to do, so we're going to knock out another one, which is called Another One.
Yep. And we're going to keep making that joke. What is our count with this album as far as how many we thought were good and how many not so much?
Let me look at the track list. I think we're at 2 good and 7 bad, but it might be 3 and 6. 1, 2,
sounds
3,
about right.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because I know we liked Oh You Praise. And maybe...
Well, I don't think I liked it. I think it was a fine...
Yeah, not liked, yeah, but it was one that we gave a positive review to.
Yeah, okay.
Oh You Praise and maybe What a Miracle.
Yeah, What a Miracle, I thought.
I think that those are the 2 we were approved of.
Well, I think Yahweh We Love You we didn't hate.
That's true.
There were some aspects.
Yeah, I think we're at 3 to 7.
Yeah,
3 to
somewhere
7.
in there.
3
Anyway.
to 7, 3 to 6, something like that.
All right, shall we go ahead and get going? Just as a reminder, y'all can follow along. We will read the lyrics as we are talking about each section. But if you want to go listen to the song, you can do that on your own and follow along with us.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Start off the song. All right, so first verse. You do everything on purpose. I can feel your spirit stirring. I've been praying, you've been working. You're working it all for good. So this is one of our misinterpreted scriptures then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, maybe we could assume that he's working it good because they are those that love him and are called according to his purpose, but they don't say that.
Yeah, and even this line of like, you're doing everything on purpose, like for me, I'd be like, yeah, even the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Even the stuff that feels awful. And then, I mean, they do continue that with the like, they believe we're in the furnace, I'm being purified, in being refined in the furnace. So that's, that's biblical. That's James and Romans that have like that you are the testing of your faith and the refining, purifying of your faith is meant to bring you to steadfast. It's maturing your faith to steadfastness. So that's a biblical thought.
That's true if that's what they mean. When I hear Elevation say furnace, I think the fiery furnace with our 3 amigos, and that's not Azariah, Hananiah, and Mishael.
Very nice. Every time.
And we have problems with that line of thinking, comparing ourselves to that. So I guess it depends what they mean, but yeah, I mean, if we give them the benefit
Well,
of the doubt with the James, that's kind of a cool thing.
Well, and I'm thinking because they use the word refining, that makes me think that it's not the fiery furnace because that was not a flame of refining. I think that they're referring to, I think it's Psalms or Proverbs. There's an image of that we are constantly being put that, well, how silver and gold are purified is that it's burned away. They're melted and then melted and then melted until all the dross is what it's called burns away. And then they become pure silver or pure gold. So there's to me the word refining makes me think that they're going
Yeah,
with like the idea of and then the waiting, working on it. I think that they're going with that image personally. I think that they're going with that biblical image.
yeah, it could be. Um, I don't love the idea that because I've been praying, you're going to work it for good. That's not a guarantee. I mean,
It's true.
so I mean, all our prayers aren't going to come true just because we prayed them. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't love that. Um, all the waiting will be worth it. Yes, if we're talking about the second coming,
Mm-hmm.
that if we wait and we remain steadfast and live according to God's will and God's purpose, and then when Christ returns, it will be worth it. But and that's great if that's what it means. And again, if we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but I wouldn't want them. I wouldn't want someone to see that or to sing that and think that it means an earthly benefit is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
That eventually this is going to pay off on earth. That may happen, and we can still pray for that and hope that it happens, but it's not a guarantee. All right, shall we move on to the chorus?
I guess so. Uh, I,
Pause that.
oh goodness.
Oh man. Okay, so maybe we have a little better picture of what they really are meaning. Chorus starts out miracle after miracle, open door after open door. Here it comes, so get ready for another one, because another one is on the way.
To me, this is like a slower version with different words of another stone.
I was thinking the same thing, yeah.
Like another stone is rolling in the room right now. Is it you right now? A new you right now. It's coming. Like it's gonna
But then,
roll away.
you also have new thing coming.
Yeah.
Like we see the
I
cloud
mean,
far off; it's on its way.
so I guess going as far as an album is concerned, they have a very they're keeping very tight to their album theme.
That's one way of putting it.
I mean, just trying to go positive. Like
Yeah,
if you have a theme of an album, then they're
that's
sticking to it.
true. Yeah, that's true.
Um,
We should try to stay positive,
I
especially
mean,
me.
well, if there's going to be enough problems, we already know. So
Yeah,
trying to give positives where I can. I will say
that's
I'm
that,
curious if they are they is the Elevation Church kind of moving into like the NAR camp?
maybe. I mean, explain what you mean exactly.
Well, this idea that like that see I'm currently not that I don't think God could do whatever he wants, but currently based on scriptural testing and stuff for me, I'm a cessationist. I mean, I believe miracles have happened. People who I know people who have gone in to be very sick in the hospital and then they miraculously healed. I don't think that's the kind of miracle they're talking about. I think that they mean like God doing miracles, like in the book in the Bible. This is something very interesting for me about Elevation is they are very for how modern of a church they are very obsessed with Old Testament imagery.
I think a place like Elevation would not call themselves continuationists or cessationists. I don't think they even. I don't think the people going there think like that. I don't think the leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, Stephen Furtick may know what he believes on that, but I don't think that the the lower down rank and file Elevation staff member or church
Hmm.
member knows anything about that.
I'm assuming that since he hasn't gone so far as to say that he is apostle Stephen Furtick that we haven't quite gotten there. But, you know,
But I
some
do
things.
think they believe in the fact that they're going to see the same kind of miracles that we see in Scripture.
Okay.
I think that the average person there does believe that, and I think that's what they teach. I mean, we see it in all the examples, like we mentioned, the fiery furnace or the parting of the Red Sea. They at least talk as if they believe that that could happen for them today. I mean, I don't know if it's full NAR, because if you look at like Bethel, I don't think they're that to that extent. Most people, if you ask them directly, do they believe that? They may not say yes, but I think they talk as if they believe that. So it's kind
Well,
of a
and
weird thing.
the music clearly seems to indicate that, and we know how we've talked about before how theology it can seep in, bad theology can seep in through music. So
Yeah, it's interesting. 'Cause I'm just thinking about my own experience at that kind of church where if you were to ask me directly, I could tell you exactly what the gospel is. I understood the gospel. I knew that I was sinful and didn't have anything special about me. But then listening to the songs and maybe certain things that I would say were almost in contradiction to that belief. But I didn't think of it in that way. Our beliefs can get so twisted if we don't root it in Scripture. And
hmm
I did think I was rooted in Scripture. So
yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky situation.
yeah.
All right, ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay, so verse 2 then was, "O rushing wind and living water, you're the God of signs and the God of wonders. If you will it, what can stop it? Because you're working it all for good. You're working it all for good." Um,
I'm just
I
curious
guess
what
they're
they
saying,
meant or what they were thinking of when they thought rushing wind and living water.
well, they don't have it capitalized in the lyrics, as far as I can tell. So I don't know if they're describing God or if they're talking about his miracles and signs.
I
Because
take it to mean that that's examples of his signs and wonders.
rushing wind and living water, the water, if they're thinking, if we go with their like idea of like being Old Testamenty kind of people, um, they might be talking about the water in the desert, like where the water came from the rock, where the first time it was good, right? The first time they did it correctly, but then the second time Moses got mad and hit the rock, and then he got punished. He wasn't allowed to go into the promised land because he hit the rock, because the rock was a, picture of Christ. And anyway, and Christ is actually the living water. I mean, that's
Right.
John
Well,
4, right?
yeah,
With the woman at the well. So
yeah. Which is weird that they didn't really call him because he is the living water. They didn't really refer to. They don't seem to be referring to Jesus here.
no, this is what I'm saying. They seem to be, to me, they seem to be very obsessed with Old Testament God in a lot of ways. I mean, probably not the part of Old Testament God that everyone talks about, like, oh, where his holiness and his justice, that everyone calls, his like whatever. People don't like the Old Testament God that smoked, killed people,
Yeah.
had led them to wipe out entire nations. But they're using the images of the Old Testament to say that God, and I don't know what the rushing wind, are they once again misusing Elijah?
That was the only one I could think of, but he wasn't in the wind.
No, God was a pillar of fire and a pillar of smoke. It would have taken rushing wind to part the sea, part the Red Sea. Yeah, I'm having a hard time
I
thinking
don't know.
what they could be singing about, but I don't have much to say about that verse actually. Just it's once again just very vague. Like I don't really know what they're singing about, and I feel like that's just, if we were to come up with a theme for this album, it would be vague.
Their lyrics are showing continuationists by the signs and wonders thing. So I think we're moving to the bridge. Wow.
I mean, he's got quite a voice. Chris Brown has got quite a voice.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's got a great voice.
He's great. But the bridge, not so much.
Okay.
I mean, talk about Old Testament.
Yeah. There were a few New Testament, but for the most part, yeah, Old
Yeah.
Testament for sure. Told the sun when to rise, and it did. He will again. And if he told the storm to be still, and it did, he will again. And if he told the sea where to split, and it did, he will again. And if he told the walls when to fall, and they did, he will again. And if he told the chains when to break, and they did, he will again. And if you hold the bones come alive, and they did, he will again. If he told the stone roll away, and it did, he will again. And if he told the grave let him go, and it did, he will again and 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 again. I know he will again and again and again and again and again. Yeah, another one's on the way.
Yeah, so this is what
So
I'm talking about. And we've said so many times, if they go and walk around the walls of some town, the walls aren't going to fall down in most likelihood. And it's just really, this is one of those things that just bugs me, but this is the continuationist thing and this is where continuationists say cessationists are wrong, that God can't do these things again. And we would say
well,
that
I
he
don't think.
can, he's just
Yeah, he just
not
isn't.
going to.
Yeah,
And he doesn't as a general rule.
because well, for me it comes to the idea of, it's in the story of the rich man and Lazarus, where Lazarus dies in poverty and the rich man dies in richness, and we see an image of the rich man in hell, and he can see Lazarus in heaven, and or in Abraham's bosoms, and he says, like, send Lazarus to go talk to my brothers to let them know that the hell is real. And Abraham says they have the law and the prophets. So, like, for me, and then in Revelation, it says, like, if anyone adds to this book, let him be anathema, like, let him be cursed. Oh, sorry. Um, so, like, I just kicked my cat by accident. She likes to sleep by my feet when I'm at the desk, and I occasionally will forget she's there, and then I accidentally kick her. So that's what I was apologizing to. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, so I think the final set of miracles died out with the apostles. Um, and now you have the law and the prophets. And if you don't believe in the law and the prophets, then you don't believe. Then nothing will convince you, even if a miracle should happen.
I see this kind of stuff online, and I've seen Justin Peters a couple times
Mm-hmm.
respond to a continuationist and tell him, well, if God still does this, then go heal sick children and
Yeah.
and record it on video for everyone to see. I don't exactly understand what they believe in elevation, or I don't think any of them have personally seen the type of miracle that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, like we could say, like God heals people, using doctors or using whatever. Like we see that regularly, I guess.
Yeah.
The walls of Jericho falling, the Red Sea splitting into, the sun standing still, or the sun rising, the storm to be still. I mean, we just don't see those sorts of miracles. At least I
Yeah.
never have, and I don't think the people writing these songs have either.
Well, and they just haven't done a good enough job lyrically to make the argument that they're speaking metaphorically, which I assume is what they would say. No, no, no. Metaphorically, the walls will come down, and metaphorically, the sun can stand still, and the storm can stop, and blah 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 blah. And okay, but I don't know that you've done a good enough job in your writing of your lyrics to make it sound like you actually, because you're talking about miracles, actual miracles. So it's just, I just don't think they've done a good enough job of drawing an allegorical parallel
Yeah, but
between.
even if they mean the Red Sea in my life or the giant in my life is going to be
it
overcome.
just it just reminded me of when we did that episode, and you were like, "The Red Sea, my bank is in the red. I need you to pot my Red Sea."
I mean, honestly, that
uh,
was all the way back at episode 2 of our
yeah,
podcast, and,
Adam's funny, y'all.
and but if that's what they mean, I think that's very problematic as well. Because
Yeah.
what does that mean? What is the Red Sea in your life? Because in that case, you're choosing whatever the Red Sea is that you want God to deal with, or the giant that you want God to deal with.
Mhm.
Whereas those examples in the Bible, God had already determined what he was going to do and how he was going to do it, and then the person involved found out about it later.
Mhm.
But the way that these songs lyrics read, is that we're essentially telling God what He's going to do. And God,
Yeah, which I
you've
know
done this
that's a
before, so I know you're going to do it again.
I know, and that's a big sticking point. I know for you specifically that like demanding things of God. I mean, I don't like it either, but I know that that's one that really bothers you.
It does.
Especially because of like what kind of faith does that show? I mean, if you look at like the church and what the early church was called to, what kind of faith does that show to demand that God do? And only I feel like only in American church would we ever be get to the point where we would be brazen enough to demand that God does stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think they would see it that way. I don't think they see it as demanding, but I think that's basically what they're doing. That
Hmm.
God, I'm only going to keep following you because I know I'm going to get something from you. I mean, I think that's the underlying belief behind a lot of these lyrics.
Continuing, there's not but for sure it
Honestly, I
has
think that's about it.
oh yeah, no, it just keeps repeating. Well, there you go. They've also broken my cardinal rule that I don't like of repetition over and over and over and over again. And I read the lyrics very fast, but I hope that as you heard me read them, you heard the ridiculousness of the repetition of just how many times they said the same thing. And I understand some people would say, "Oh, well, that's like it's a rhetorical device. You know, you repeat it multiple times to kind of emphasize the point." I mean, okay, but when does it move from rhetorical device into vain nothings?
Yeah, that's your big thing.
Yep. Hey, it hit both of our big things.
Yep. All right.
Oh well.
Well, we can wrap this up.
Unsuccessful. I'm going to add this to the not a successful song side.
I think I'm with you. Although, as we said, Chris Brown, great vocals.
Yes. And I mean like I said at the beginning, I feel like these things start sounding the same, but it is a very pleasing like chord progression. It's a very nice music. It's definitely the kind of music you like turn on and work in your
Yeah.
house and you're not really listening to, which is part of the problem.
There definitely was a time where I would have loved this kind of song. So,
Hmm.
all right, but
All right.
not now.
Not
So,
anymore.
with all that said,
And
let
that
us
is
know what
called
y'all think.
personal growth, children.
Yeah, let us know what y'all thought about the song and about our comments. If you agree or disagree, and follow us on Instagram at Theology of Everything. And these will also be on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, leave a comment as well. And we will be back with y'all next time with our next song off this album called Great Is. See y'all then.
All right.
Thanks for listening to this week's discussion on the theology of everything. Please join the conversation by following us on Instagram at Theology of Everything. This is where we post content that relates to the current topic and where you can share your thoughts with us.